Hi guys, Drinking James here, and we're going to be celebrating the 78th anniversary of Thomas and Friends together. A week late. Okay, a little more than a week late, but that's not the point. Um, and the reason why this video is a little late is because the anniversary did inspire me to make this video, and I figured this would be kind of a fun little thing to do. So, obviously, the 78th anniversary of Thomas really refers to the 78th anniversary of Thomas as a franchise. And obviously, the franchise goes back to the Railway series. And when thinking about the Railway series, I thought back to something else that I'd seen recently, a video made by Thomas Theorist where he ranked the finales of Thomas, including the Railway series book, Thomas and His Friends. And I'll be honest, it's a very boring, unflattering ending to the Railway series. It's just four stories kind of cobbled together that I guess Christopher wanted to write but didn't know where to put them, and they just kind of became this book that was supposed to end this grand children's and family book series that ultimately really needed an ending. So I put my thinking cap on and I came up with four story concepts of which I think I would use to end the Railway series, and I hope you guys would agree with me. So with that, I give you my version of Thomas and His Friends. Yes, I know I'm using a story from the actual book, but I am going to be making changes, and this won't be the last one I do use. The very interesting decision that this book makes is it starts off with the story Thomas and the Swan, where Gordon's taken off express duties. And it's a big revelation. Except it isn't. I mean, it happens, and then the story focuses on Thomas rescuing a swan. It's kind of unceremonious. It's just this massive bomb is dropped that Gordon, the big express engine's no longer going to be pulling the express, and then we're worried about Thomas and the swan. It's kind of unflattering. And then later on in the book, you get a completely different story about Gordon when he's now on local train duties. And I was wondering, why not just combine those two ideas together? We start off this story with Gordon being taken off express duties and moved to local trains. And while Gordon understands the decision, he can't help but feel hurt by it. At this point, Gordon's been taking the express for almost 90 years, and obviously it has a lot of wear and tear on him, and he's just not meant to travel at those speeds anymore at his age. At the same time, Gordon wonders how useful he really is. Because he's taking local trains now, he's going slower. But because he's going slower, he happens to notice a trackside fire, in which Gordon's able to help out with the water in his tender. Gordon's rewarded for his services, and it's a nice reminder to Gordon that he's useful in more ways than one, and that at the end of the day, he'll always have a purpose on his railway. And it's a nice ending to Gordon's character arc. So much of the Railway series spends time with Gordon boasting about how big, fast, and strong he is. And here, the story doesn't reflect any of that. But it shows a new side of Gordon. A side of caring and compassion and being able to handle things under pressure. Things that don't really require strength and speed, all the things Gordon gloated about. We get a much more mature Gordon here. A more developed character and a fitting end to his arc. That's right, folks. Edward's getting retired in the story. Not really. Story starts out with Edward breaking down while taking a train on his branch line. Boko would explain to Bill and Ben that Edward was getting retired. Bill and Ben would panic, of course, and feel the railway was trying to shove him out of service, thinking that Edward was too old. So, in protest, Bill and Ben go to Wellsworth and block the tracks and refuse to work until Edward is brought back into service. Edward returns and sets the situation straight. Edward was being retired. He needed new tires on his wheels. That's what caused him to break down. Once Bill and Ben misunderstand the understanding, Edward then also clarifies that at this point, though, he is getting older, and that he won't be able to handle as many duties as he used to, meaning that Boko, maybe occasionally the Scottish twins, and even Bill and Ben will have to handle more responsibilities on the branch line. The twins are a little saddened by this, but they're also very happy to take on this responsibility, knowing that Edward trusts them enough to do so. This story shows a lot of growth, obviously, for Bill and Ben. They're still cheeky, but they're cheeky with a purpose. They're not just pulling pranks or trying to make engines suffer. But here they show that they do care about Edward, and Edward cares deeply about them. They have grown a lot since the 60s, since when we first met them. And here we get a satisfying end to Edward. He's not technically being taken out of service. He'll be working closer to his yard, doing more pilot and banking duties, but at the end of the day, Edward still has a purpose as well. Remember, this is 2011 at this point. The characters are getting significantly older. And at the end of the day, certain characters won't be able to do the same things forever. But here, we get a satisfying end to Edward, Bill, and Ben. Thomas is groaning and clanking a lot, as he too is getting on with age. Percy and Toby joke about how old he's getting, but Thomas just ignores it, finds it rather annoying. One day, while Thomas is on a journey, his valve seize and jam right near a pond. Thomas decides he's able to take the train on and manages to struggle into the junction where Gordon, the new local train, is waiting. Once Thomas arrives at the junction, the two exchange some words about hard work, going back to their first interaction in the Railway series, all the way back in Thomas and Gordon, and it's revealed that a toad also joined Thomas in his travels, which also makes a croaking noise, which even Thomas can laugh at. Thomas is not the spry young cheeky tank engine anymore. He's a much more developed character. Still has a bit of attitude, as anyone would, but at the end of the day, the story shows that even Father Time couldn't escape him. Thomas will obviously go off to the works and be fine, but it's a nice idea to bring back the ideas of Thomas and Gordon a little bit, check back in on our favorite branch line friends, and see just how far Thomas the Tank Engine has come, but we're not done with him just yet. This story is very similar to the Railway series, but with some changes. The story starts out the same. It's announced that a large bust will be made of the thin clergyman to celebrate his centenary. James goes to collect it, and Henry's tunnel collapses. But this is where the story changes. Thomas was sent to the works in the last story, so Thomas is nearby. He's finished at this point and able to return to his branch line. But Thomas makes a very interesting decision. He offers to stay at the works. At this point in time, to help with the cleaning of the tunnel, bringing in work trains to help clear the tunnel as well as helping to pilot the passenger trains that now have to terminate at Groven's Gate. Essentially, Thomas becomes a station pilot all over again and happily accepts this duty, and he does so, greatly increasing the process's efficiency. With Thomas's help, of course, as well as the other engines, the tunnel is cleared and made safe, and of course the special day goes on without a hitch. And of course, all of this due to the help of Thomas and his friends. This story really brings Thomas's arc full circle. I mentioned before that we get a much more mature Thomas in this book. All the characters are much more matured and subdued. But with Thomas, he's no longer the engine that wants to see the world and get out of the yard. But he stays in it, knowing that it's his place right now, and it's the place where he can do the most good. Not where he's going to stay permanently. He will return to his branch line after this. But it's the idea that Thomas understands that in this moment his skill as a shunter is highly valuable, and isn't afraid to do it. Something that I do think kind of brings Thomas around full circle again. We'll see various characters in the story from all over the island helping out, trying to make sure the tunnel gets cleared in time as well, and I think it's a nice solid ending to the Railway series. I chose Thomas, Edward, and Gordon to headline these stories, as I feel like they're the characters that have the most to go through throughout the Railway series. They feel like the leaders of their individual sections of the island, and it felt like the best way to give them all solidarity was to give them focus. At the end of the day, this isn't a perfect book, but I think with my changes it makes it a lot better. It celebrates the shows, its themes, and characters a lot stronger than what Christopher originally imagined. So I think I think I did it. I think I successfully improved Thomas and his friends. If you disagree or you have different story ideas, you're more than welcome to share. And if you like these videos, I'll do more of them. Anyway, this is Train King James signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed. And happy 78th.